Hey everyone, welcome back to part 10 here. We're going to talk about supply chain risk. So when you're building a system, the system is built with multiple different types of technology, software, hardware, you name it, is all part of that system. And so if you look at what it takes to actually get software out to a customer, if you're not using cloud, let's just, if you're thinking about a data center or something of that effect, or even if you are thinking about cloud, the service is going to run that service that you developed or that application that you developed is going to run on some hardware somewhere. It could be in your data center, it could be in the cloud. And that hardware is built with a bunch of different components, ICs, memory, hard drives, the network components, all the different technologies and components and hardware and software that all goes into from top to bottom just to get your application or your service running. And so there's a lot of different third-party software that's part of that. You can think of things like Microsoft or Oracle or Linux are all running different components that are packaged into that operating system, as well as all the technology that runs beside that technology or that application that you're running, things like SQL Server or even your deployment code. The bottom line here is that everything from the ground up is all developed by somebody else. And so you're not, or not you, but your company or your organization is not going out there and building the ICs from scratch, from sand that they gathered from someplace, and made the microchips that, and you're not single sourcing or developing your own motherboards and memory and so forth and so on. At some point, you're relying on third parties to bring your application to your customers. And so this presents a problem. It presents a problem in the sense that each one of these are access points for potential malicious actor to inject themselves. And so that can occur in any different component of that supply chain, whether it's the ICs, whether it's the motherboard, whether it's the network technology, whether it's the cloud provider, maybe it's the third-party software that you're using to build your application. Maybe it's the SaaS service that you're relying on to present different technology within your own application. The bottom line is that, again, a malicious actor in a lot of complex systems, a malicious actor has a lot of opportunity to be able to inject themselves into that supply chain, to be able to compromise the data, the application, or the systems that that application is running on. So from an organization perspective, there's a few tools that are available. One is obviously monitor, ensure that the services that you're leveraging, the hardware, the software, all the different components, you're monitoring each of those for any kind of vulnerabilities or threats that may be posed by those components. And honestly, you want to take a zero trust approach. And what that means is that you don't trust the third party or you don't trust any of those components. You want to make sure that you are not providing them so much trust that it leads to a compromise. And so what that really means is trying to contain that third party, trying to ensure that, think that third party is compromised, and then think about how are you going to react to that. And it's going to be different in each scenario. It's going to be different for the network tools that you use or the network hardware that you use, all the way up to the SaaS provider, up to the cloud service provider that you use as well. Each one of those is going to have a different way of thinking about how that threat could materialize with that given component. And then you want to assess. You want to be able, first you want to monitor, make sure that you're monitoring for threats and vulnerabilities within those services that you use. But you also want to do assessments. You want to reach out to that third party, that supplier, and ask basic questions. And sometimes this could be a formal risk assessment, a third party risk assessment. Or it could be a simple questionnaire. It could be a conversation that you have with that third party to understand their security. But you want to assess that third party and make sure that they're not taking security too leniently, especially when it comes to ensuring that your application is properly secured. There's also some other tools that you may be able to use in terms of being able to provide minimum security requirements to that third party, saying, here's the policies that our organization adheres to, and here's what our expectation is of any of the service providers that we work with, that they meet these minimum security requirements. And that could be at the hardware level, the software level, the service level. But you want to be able to present to that organization that part of the supply chain and say, hey, here's the bare minimum that you need to achieve in order to work with us. And if you have those minimum security requirements identified and you present those, if you're looking at a couple different suppliers, some of the suppliers may not meet those minimum security requirements, and therefore they would not be selected as potential suppliers. And then there's service level requirement and service level agreement. So service level requirement is going to be a statement of expectation of service and performance. So it's what you expect out of that service. It's your requirements that you expect out of that service that you're going to get from that service provider. And then the SLA is going to be those providing that service must maintain a level of service that's been agreed upon between the supplier and the organization. So supply chain risk is obviously a very big concern, especially lately. There's been a lot of issues around supply chain as the supply chain gets more complex, and as organizations rely more and more on third parties to create and maintain and manage their applications that they deliver to their clients. This is obviously a big concern. And with that, I appreciate your time. Look forward to talking to you again. Thank you.